Start investing in gold and silver at sdbullion.com today and join over 35,000 precious metals investors who have made the switch to the lowest gold and silver prices in the industry. SD Bullion recently claimed a spot on the prestigious Inc. 500, making them one of the fastest growing bullion companies in the United States. With low bullion prices and over-the-top customer service, SD Bullion is setting the standard for precious metals transactions. Visit www.sdbullion.com today. Start saving on every precious metals purchase you make.
Hey everyone, this is Elijah Johnson with SilverDoctors.com, and with us today is Rory Hall from The Daily Coin. Rory, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Elijah, for having me. I certainly appreciate it.
All right. Well, I'd first like to discuss the gold and silver markets. Can you give us an update on where we've been seeing gold and silver go in 2017 and where you see them heading?
Well, where they've come from is that they're enjoying a nice little uptick, and every time that they seem to get a foothold on an upswing, the cartels comes in and smashes them back down, just like what they've done every day this week. But it seems like that the stronger hands are playing in the market, because every time that they beat it down, it bounces right back, just like today. Today's a great example of the strength in numbers, if you will. And as far as where the market is going, it's really hard to say. There's a lot of smart people out there that seem to think that gold and silver are going to go higher. I just heard Gerald Celente say that he's on record that there's going to be a new all-time high for gold this year. I don't mean any disrespect to Mr. Celente. I don't know. I mean, the cartel is in charge of currently in charge of the pricing mechanism, and as long as they have their hand in there, then it's really very difficult to say what's going to happen, because they can push a button and everything changes in a flash. And that's until that changes, then they're in charge.
Do you see Trump doing anything about the manipulation in the gold and silver markets?
Well, Trump is a big fan of gold, and probably a lot of the audience remembers that he made a couple of deals. I believe it was in 2011, where he actually sold some property. He rented some property, and the down payment for the lease was in gold. And he vowed at that time to do more deals in gold. I don't know that he has. I haven't seen any other deals that he's made, but I know that he does a lot of business. Before he started running for president, he was doing a lot of business, his companies were, in the Eastern countries like Dubai and China, which are very gold friendly. So it wouldn't surprise me if he didn't do more deals in gold. And as far as him being friendly to gold, what he can do with that in office, once again, it's up to the cartel. And the deep state is pushing pretty hard on him right now at every single turn. And unless he can break that cycle of the deep state, then he's not going to be able to do anything about it, just like what we've been seeing most of our lives. The gold cartel is in charge. And until that is broken, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's in office or who's doing what.
Now, while we're on the topic of Trump, there's this new news coming out in the mainstream media. I just saw it on the New York Times, how members of Trump's 2016 campaign had multiple contacts with senior Russian intelligence officials. This is from the New York Times. So basically, I'm wondering, what is your perspective on how the mainstream media seems so obsessed with talking about how Russia interfered with the election and Trump basically loves Russia. What is your perspective on this whole story?
Well, you referenced the New York Times, which is nothing more than a propaganda machine. And just like I was saying, as far as Trump being able to break the deep state, they're part of that. So these Russian hacking stories are the remnants of what the first failed attempt, which was a few months ago, right after Trump was elected, that these losers came out and said that it was all because of Russian hacking, and now they're recycling this story again. And it didn't work then. It's not working now. It's nothing but propaganda. From my perspective, it's nothing but propaganda in order to elicit an emotional trigger in the masses to hate Russia in order to be able to drive us towards war. That's the whole premise behind anything that's mentioned about Russia, is for the masses to eat this up and go, well, those darn Russians are doing it again. They're, and Trump, he's in collusion with them, so we should impeach him. And then it's all bread and circuses, in my opinion, the whole thing. And there are two outcomes that the deep state is attempting to achieve, and one is war, and the other one is the impeachment of President Trump.
You were just mentioning about how, there's this effort maybe to actually impeach Trump. Do you see that actually going forward or having any success?
It's going to depend on how loud the cries get and how much the people believe it. And they are pushing pretty hard right now, from what I can tell, to get something on the table as far as an impeachment process. I mean, Bill Steele just published a report this morning regarding it, and the key element to impeaching under Amendment 25 is Mike Pence. And if Mike Pence gets on board with impeaching him, which is highly unlikely, then it would be a simple impeachment. Otherwise, it will take an act of Congress, literally an act of Congress, to impeach him. And that could get ugly and be drawn out for months and months and months. And the whole time, Trump would be losing credibility, not only at home, but on the world stage as well, because of just the sheer volume of distraction that it would create. So are they going to push it forward? I think they're going to give it an effort. I think they're going to give it a real serious effort.
All right. And I wanted to discuss the credibility of the mainstream media because, we heard in the mainstream about this whole idea of fake news, that Russian propaganda, there were Russian propaganda outlets. Silver Doctors was put on the list. Also, Ron Paul's website was put on the list. David Kranzler's was put on the list. A lot of people that we know were put on the list of quote unquote Russian propaganda outlets. And the interesting thing is it seems like Trump has kind of flipped the table now and said, no, actually, it's the mainstream media that's the fake news. What do you think the effect of kind of Trump exposing the mainstream media has been and will be?
I think that it's been very positive as far as CNN is probably the biggest fake news organization on the planet. And like was said just a moment ago, the New York Times is right there with them. I mean, all of the mainstream media, I personally just try to stay away from, except to see what they're lying about, because it's all lies. It's all lies, deceit, and propaganda. And if you spend any time watching the mainstream media or reading it online, then you probably have come to understand that one of their main goals is to elicit an emotional trigger, whether it's happy or sad or anger or fear or terror. Their favorite is terror, of course. And that's all that they do. They don't give you any news. They give you a series of emotional triggers that are designed to get people en masse to move in a particular direction. And that's all that they do. So, CNN has no credibility. The mainstream media has lost a majority of their credibility, and what little bit that they have is waning. I mean, and it's just that simple. I mean, there is you. It would be difficult for me to find someone that goes, yeah, I get my news sources from, MSNBC or one of these other mainstream outlets. There's just no one in my circle that watches it or gives them any credibility whatsoever at this point. They lost most of their credibility or their remaining credibility during the election and soon after the election, especially when all the polls that they were citing were saying that Hillary was going to win. Don't even bother to vote, because Hillary's got it. Trump is out, Hillary is in. And nothing could have been further from the truth. I mean, if anyone has looked at a county by county breakdown of the votes that were cast across the country, you see this ocean of red representing the Republican Party with the spots and little slithers of blue representing the Democratic Party. So how could you miss something of that magnitude without it being completely farcical on their part? You can't. I mean, it's just made up. They just pull it out of thin air, and that's it. I mean, it's all fake. It's all nonsense, in my opinion.
Now, you've also discussed about how really the Federal Reserve also has lost a lot of its credibility. Janet Yellen was just saying on Tuesday, she was informing Congress that, quote, waiting too long to hike is unwise. So it seems like she's saying that, well, maybe we'll hike rates, and just the first of this month with the FOMC meeting, it seemed like they were kind of thinking that rate hikes would not be a good idea anytime soon. So what is your perspective on also the Federal Reserve losing its credibility?
Well, they have none. They have no credibility. And everything that they say is designed specifically to trigger the trading algorithms within these too big to jail banks. That's it. And their trading desk. So you've got good cop, bad cop, and that's what they do. You've got, a series of Fed heads that come out and say, no, we should never raise interest rates ever again. And then you've got others that come out and say, now's a good time to raise interest rates. And every time that they do that, the algorithms in these computers that do 70 or 80% of all the trading on the equities markets, they respond accordingly. And those are designed to do a certain thing, once again, to send an emotional trigger to the masses to get people to move in a particular way, or to support some idea, or to distract from whatever's happening in China or Russia or on the geopolitical front. I mean, that's all that it's there for. And in my opinion, I mean, this is just my opinion, but that's what I see. And as far as the Federal Reserve having any credibility, they have no credibility. I mean, who listens to them, honestly? I mean, other than the machines. That's all that they're talking to. I mean, if you ask the people on the street if they know anything about the Federal Reserve, their opinion is probably negative, because, like I said, if they know, which most of the people don't, unfortunately. So, but that's where I'm at with the Federal Reserve. They have no credibility at all.
All right. Well, before we let you go, Rory, I was wondering if you could give us an outlook for 2017, where you see the economy in the United States heading.
That's a very interesting question. It depends on which set of numbers that you look at. If you look at the real numbers, it should have gone belly up about 2010, 2011, soon after. Well, it's never recovered from the 2008 crisis. It's never recovered from that, and everything has gotten worse. So the paper mirage, the paper illusion, combined with the massaged statistics that were fed every month, it's hard to say. I mean, because are people beginning to believe the lie that the economy is great, everything's good? Is the Trump bump going to continue to work its magic? It's hard to say. I mean, it really is, because everything is so rigged at this point and so manipulated that, I mean, they can put it wherever they want to. But as far as the actual economy, the real economy at ground zero, that's continues to fall apart. I mean, mortgage applications have tanked again. The jobs that are being created are all part-time jobs. There's more people out of work than there are working. I mean, it's incredible. The actual economy is a disaster. I mean, there are a few pockets around the country that are doing well, but not very many. And the way that I describe our economy is you have a group of people that work at Walmart that eat at McDonald's, and you have a group of people that work at McDonald's that shop at Walmart. That is an unsustainable economy, and that is what our economy basically is. And that is under no circumstances that sustainable. Our manufacturing has been gutted, and everybody seems to think that Trump is going to be able to bring the jobs home. Well, the jobs are all being automated. And over the course of the next 2 to 5 years, that's going to really be in people's faces as far as jobs disappearing due to automation, due to technology. They're all being eliminated. I mean, our job, Elijah and Rory's job right now, can be automated, period. You know, I mean, Uber and Google and and a couple of other companies are developing driverless cars. They're very close to that coming online. They're developing driverless semi-tractor trailers. I mean, can you imagine semi-tractor trailers that are completely automated? I mean, our economy has been inundated with robotics for the past 30 years, and it's now getting to the point to where everything, even the simplest of tasks, can be automated. When was the last time you went into a restaurant and saw a kiosk that said, place your order here, with no human interaction? There's going to be more and more and more of that. And it's going to, like I said, over the next 2 to 5 years, it's going to be undeniable. And so as far as our economy improving, as far as jobs being created, not going to happen. They're not going to be there.
All right, Rory Hall, once again, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we let you go, did you want to share with the viewers where they can find you and any last thoughts you had?
Sure. Thank you very much, Elijah, for having me. And you can find me over at thedailycoin.org and also The Daily Coin on YouTube.
Once again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, I'd first like to discuss the gold and silver markets. Can you give us an update on where we've been seeing gold and silver go in 2017 and where you see them heading?
Well, where they've come from is that they're enjoying a nice little uptick, and every time that they seem to get a foothold on an upswing, the cartels comes in and smashes them back down, just like what they've done every day this week. And that gold and silver are going to go higher. I just heard Gerald Celente say that he's on record that there's going to be a new all-time high for gold this year. I don't mean any disrespect to Mr. Celente. I don't know. I mean, the cartel is currently in charge of the pricing mechanism, and as long as they have their hand in there, then.
Start investing in gold and silver at sdbullion.com today and join over 35,000 precious metals investors who have made the switch to the lowest gold and silver prices in the industry. SD Bullion recently claimed a spot on the prestigious Inc. 500, making them one of the fastest growing bullion companies in the United States. With low bullion prices and over-the-top customer service, SD Bullion is setting the standard for precious metals transactions. Visit www.sdbullion.com today. Start saving on every precious metals purchase you make.
Hey everyone, this is Elijah Johnson with SilverDoctors.com, and with us today is Rory Hall from the Daily Coin. Rory, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Elijah, for having me. I certainly appreciate it. But it seems like that the stronger hands are playing in the market, because every time that they beat it down, it bounces right back, just like today. Today's a great example of the strength in numbers, if you will. And as far as where the market is going, it's really hard to say. There's a lot of smart people out there that seem to think